Hi guys and welcome back to the Mighty Blues. My name is of course Cameron. Welcome back to the channel. It is the instant match reaction. Everton 2, Nottingham Forest 0 at Goodison Park. A huge 3 points for Everton today. A game of football that we absolutely needed to win. Coming off the back of that horrendous 6-0 defeat to Chelsea on Monday night. It was imperative that Everton bounce back this weekend. It was imperative that the team turned up and put a performance in. Give us something to cheer about. Give us something to be a little bit optimistic about. And I didn't do a podcast in the week, and that was for a number of reasons, really. The big reason was I was busy with work and various other things, so I didn't have time to sit down. But I also, throughout the last week or so, have just been dreading this game of football so much, because I looked back on the Chelsea game and it was such a bad performance. It was such a bad display, not just because we conceded 6 goals and lost the game, but the way in which we lost. It just felt like we were at rock bottom for the football club, and this game coming up, on the horizon, a huge game at Goodison Park against a fellow relegation rival. It had all the hallmarks to go very bad, this game, and create a very toxic and uncomfortable atmosphere within Goodison Park. And in the days leading up to it, Wednesday, Thursday, sort of Tuesday, even yet to yesterday, I was seriously thinking about just putting my ticket up on the website for sale and just watching this one sort of on the couch with a quilt over my eyes, because I wasn't confident whatsoever going into it. Forest have been decent in recent weeks. They've got a lot of quality up front, players like Alanga, Gibbs-White, etc., who are capable of scoring goals, creating chances. And we were just the complete opposite to that. And I just felt going into this one that it was only going to be one outcome, and it wasn't going to be a positive one for Everton. I sit here now at 4:25, having just literally walked in from Goodison Park, absolutely pleasantly surprised. Not just because Everton have won the game, because Everton won a couple of weeks ago against Burnley, and I sat down after that game and I remember saying, well, yeah, look, we've won the game, and that is absolutely huge, and that ultimately is all that matters at this stage in the season. It's definitely results over performance in the position and the situation Everton are in. But I didn't feel like it was a particularly great performance against Burnley. I felt like we were poor. I felt like Burnley almost beat themselves. It was a game that was settled with one silly little mistake that, you'll probably not see again for another 6 to 12 months in Premier League football. And it as good as it was to see Everton win, it didn't fill me with a massive amount of confidence leaving Goodison Park. And obviously we then had the defeat to Chelsea, and I remember thinking, that Burnley game was exactly what it was. 2 poor teams, and one of them just got a little bit fortunate, and it all just built up this sort of anxiety and nervousness going into this one. But do you know what? First thing I want to say is absolute credit to the players today, because they've been slated in recent weeks by, a lot of Blues, myself included, about their performances and about their ability and their quality, and just generally not being good enough. And, obviously the managers come under a lot of stick as well, but often the players are the ones people point their fingers at, because the players are the ones on the pitch, making the decisions and missing the opportunities and not creating as much or enough, etc. I thought the players put in a shift today. Were they absolutely unbelievably outstanding? No, they weren't. But as we've already established before, this group of players, this set of players, isn't the most talented set of players in the world. It isn't blessed with a centre midfielder who's got, an unbelievable ability on the ball and an unbelievable footballing brain to be able to take players on, etc. It isn't blessed with a centre forward like Ollie Watkins or even Dominic Solanke, somebody that you can rely on to consistently put the ball in the back of the net. It's not blessed with that. It's not blessed with young, progressive fullbacks. It's blessed with Ashley Young, who is an old, non-progressive fullback. But I think they dug deep today. I think they went into that game, I think they dug deep, and I think they worked hard. And I'm not just saying this because I've been quite vocal about the manager's position and the manager's situation of late. And I'm not going to sit here and have a go at the manager or, moan and this, that and the other, because Everton have won the game, and Everton have won a really important game that we needed to win. But I think it was more on the players today than the manager. I think the system was actually very similar to one that we've seen a lot this season. It felt like there wasn't many ideas. It felt like it was lump the ball up and just hope for something to happen. But I think the players took this game by the scruff of the neck. I thought Gueye and Andre Gomez were absolutely outstanding. For what they are, sort of early 30s, coming towards the twilight stages of their career, shall we say. I thought the pair of them were absolutely fantastic today. I felt like it was in 2018, and it's a positive because they've helped Everton to win a really, really important game, and they're still Everton players, so you'd like to hope that they put those types of performances in. But it's quite ironic, isn't it, that this centre midfield partnership that we had putting good performances in relatively consistently in 2018, and now our central midfield partnership in 2024, 6 years later. Bearing in mind, both of whom have gone away, played for other clubs, and since come back to Everton and are now playing in the same team. But they were the two best players on the pitch, in my opinion, in an Everton shirt. They broke the play up. They moved it round well. There's just something about Andre Gomez that I don't think any other player at this football club has. He's not the greatest footballer in the world. He's not necessarily ideal for this league because he's not got a lot of pace. He's not very quick on the ball. I've said this for years and I'll say it again. I think Andre Gomez, maybe not now he's coming towards the latter stages of his career, but I think when he signed for Everton, if that Andre Gomez had gone to Italy, I think he'd have looked like one of the best midfielders in the league over there because the speed of their game, or lack of, would have been extremely suited to him. But what Andre Gomez does have that I don't think any other Everton player has, or certainly no other Everton midfielder, barring Gueye, is a footballing brain, is a knowledge of when to shield the ball, when to take a foul, when to pick the ball up, when to calm it down, when to be comfortable on it. And I think that comfortability and that experience and that ability, and having somebody in the middle of the park who isn't afraid to go, well, do you know what? This ball's in the area, but I'm not just going to jump up and head it unnecessarily in one direction. I'm not just going to have a swipe at it when it comes down. I'm going to block the man off. I'm going to let it drop to me. I'm going to control it, and I'm going to look for a pass. And if I haven't got a pass, I'm not going to lose it. I'm going to, I'm going to be comfortable. I'm going to be calm with it. And I'm not saying that Andre Gomez does that every week, because we've seen him numerous times, losing the ball or giving it away, etc., etc. But today, he was absolutely outstanding. He was absolutely outstanding. And Gueye next to him, I know it's an impossible ask because of his age and because of his injury problems, but I would have Idrissa Gueye in that Everton team week in, week out. I would. I think he offers us more and is more important to us than Onana, James Garner, Doucouré. And I know that might upset people, but that's just the truth. And yes, sometimes he's a little bit erratic. Sometimes he doesn't make his decision quick enough. Sometimes he loses the ball. I've been the first one on this channel to come on here and have a go at Garner when he's been dilly-dallying on the ball and we've conceded or whatever it might be. But he gets about that pitch. He breaks that play up. He's able to nick the ball away from opposition players in the box and just get us out of trouble so many times. You wouldn't know unless you watched them. You wouldn't know and you wouldn't notice unless you sat and specifically watched them for a game of football. But the amount of times Everton are in a situation that could become a little bit worrying and a little bit panicky, and he just, like an enforcer, he just turns up, nicks the ball back, and all of a sudden everything's calm again, and doing that frustrates the opposition as well. And I thought he was absolutely excellent at doing that today. I thought the pair of them in midfield were outstanding, absolutely outstanding. I mean, it says a lot about Everton that we're having to use our centre midfield partnership from 6 years ago, that ultimately we'd had to leave the football club and then subsequently come back. I know Gomez is a little bit different, but the pair of them were brilliant today. Absolutely brilliant. And Gueye's goal as well. Be honest, there's 127 people in this chat. I don't know how many of these people, I don't know how many of you are Blues. If you aren't Blues and this is the first time watching, please subscribe. It means a lot. To anybody that is a subscriber and a frequent viewer, I apologise that there was no podcast last week. Like I said, a little bit busy, and I just wasn't really in a very positive mood. I actually recorded a half-an-hour video, but I've deleted it because I was just so frustrated. I was so negative. And I didn't think I didn't think it'd help going into this game, so I just left it. And I thought, you know what, I'll just pick it back up after the game. But be honest, everyone in the chat now that's an Evertonian, how many of you were screaming for Gueye to not shoot when he lined that ball up? Because I know myself and a lot of people surrounded by me were shouting and screaming for him to not shoot, and that's because we've seen it, haven't we? We've seen it time and time and time again, him line the ball up on the edge of the box like that, go to have a shot, and then all of a sudden it's absolutely blasted into Rowe's head. But fair play to him today. Absolutely fair play to him. Not only was his performance very, very good, but the goal is really, really well taken. Keeps it down, keeps it on target, calms things down, and in off the post. Both goals were very, very similar, weren't they? Almost carbon copies of each other, and that's what we need to do. And I've said this before, and I'll say it again. Unless Everton are in the final 5 minutes of a game and we're 1-0 down, and Gueye has got 4 options forward to pass a ball and he blasts it over the bar. Yes, I understand the frustration. Yes, I understand people getting a little bit, aggravated with that. But if we're in the 20th, 30th, 40th minute of a game and an opportunity presents itself, I've got no issue with players shooting, because if you don't shoot, you don't score. And if you instill this mentality of only hit the ball when you're 1-on-1 with the goalkeeper, or you've got a clear shot at goal, then players are going to become scared to shoot, and then therefore aren't going to shoot, and therefore we ain't going to score many goals, because it's not often we have a big clear cut opportunity to put the ball in the back of the net. So I think it should be encouraged for players to have shots. And I think that we've seen that encouragement in a literal form today. Gueye, ball comes out to him, lines it up well, takes a shot, brilliant shot in off the post. Everyone's buzzing, everyone's up, everyone's cheering, everyone's shouting. Second half, Forest, I thought were terrible today. I thought they were absolutely terrible. We'll get onto them in a minute. But second half, McNeil, nice little ball into Decore, gets it back. First thing on his mind is, I'm going to have a go here. Now, 3 weeks ago, I don't care what anybody says, 3 weeks ago, had McNeil had received that ball in that very same position, in that very same passage of play, he would not have had that shot. He wouldn't have. He'd have looked for a pass, he'd have looked for a chip, he'd have turned around, he'd have trying to give it back to Decore. He wouldn't have had that shot. He just wouldn't have. But today he's seen it and he's thought, no, do you know what? I'm going to have a go. Garner had a go and it worked for him. I'm going to have a go. And it went in. And that's what we need to do. A little bit of confidence, a little bit of self-belief. If these players have not got belief in themselves, then there's absolutely no point in any of us turning up to watch the game, or any of us putting it on our telly, or any of them players even turning up. If they look at themselves and think, I don't believe in myself here, what's the point? Because when they do believe in themselves, they've got ability and they've got quality, and we weren't great today. Let's not sugarcoat it. We weren't unbelievable, we weren't amazing, but we turned up to a game of football that we were all shitting ourselves about after being beaten 6-0 and humiliated just days beforehand, and we put a shift in and we deserved to win. And for the first time in God knows how long under this manager, we looked like we wanted to win the game. We didn't look like we were settling for a draw. We didn't look like we were happy to just bob along. We didn't look like we wanted to throw everyone behind the ball after the first goal. The players look like, no, do you know what? We've got these here. We want to go and put in a performance and we want to win this game. And fair play to them. Absolutely fair play to them. Ant has donated £2 to the team. Thank you very much. He says Forest in meltdown. Cheers, Everton. Yeah, we'll get on to Forest in a second. And Knox has donated £5 to the team. Thank you very much, boys. I really do appreciate that. Well, I'm being a bit rude there. I'm assuming Knox's gender. Thank you very much, guys. I really appreciate that. Guys/girls/ yeah, you get my point. Knox says, that's what we needed. Massive faith from Pickers as well. Absolutely, mate. A huge save and a huge moment from Jordan. I thought Jordan was a little bit erratic again today. I thought there was moments where he was collecting the ball and he just looked like he wanted to lash it up straight away, and he just needed to calm down a little bit, take a little bit off, and and just be a little bit more consoled and a little bit less rash. And he was, as the game went on, he was. But that was an absolutely huge save as well. A couple of things I want to say before we talk a little bit more about the game. Obviously, we send, it goes without saying, but we send our best wishes out to Beto. Looked like an absolutely horrendous collision. I don't know how the referee hasn't given a foul and some form of booking to Morgan Gibbs-White, who gets nowhere near the ball and hospitalises our player. But yeah, it is whatever. Anthony Taylor was horrific, by the way. But yeah, best wishes to Beto. Hopefully it's nothing too serious. You could tell straight away that he was unconscious. I think you could tell by the reaction of the players as well, people like Dwight McNeil and stuff. were quite visibly upset. And as soon as I saw Dwight McNeil's reaction, I thought, oh, this is really, really bad, this. And I suppose the one positive is that when he was being stretchered off, he had his arm up, he was reacting to the crowd was singing his name, and he was lifting his arm up in appreciation. So at least he was awake, at least he was he knew what was going on, he knew his surroundings and stuff. So hopefully it's nothing too serious, hopefully it was just an impact injury, and he can be back up and running as quickly as possible. Not sure whether we'll see him again this season. I think players have to have a couple of weeks off if they've had a concussion, which is absolutely fair enough and right. But yeah, sending our best wishes. And obviously, speedy recovery to Beto. Knox has donated another £5. He says it's Mad Atta James, just a different account. Oh, thank you very much, mate. Thank you very much, James. I really, really do appreciate that, honestly. You don't have to donate, but honestly, I really, really do appreciate when people do. It means a lot to me. I had somebody on Twitter telling me the other day that I basically make so much money off YouTube that it's inconceivable, and how are you making all this money? And it baffles me. It absolutely baffled me. I was like, lad, I work full time as well as doing YouTube. Do you think if YouTube made enough money, I'd still be working full time? Anyway, I digress. I just want to read this because I think it's quite interesting, from Nottingham Forest's official Twitter account at 3:37 p.m. 3 extremely poor decisions, 3 penalties not given, which we simply cannot accept. We warned the PGMOL that the VAR is a Luton fan before the game, but they didn't change him. Our patience has been tested multiple times. Nottingham Forest will now consider its options. How the fuck do you think it feels to be us? I haven't seen any of the penalty claims today. As far as I've seen from people speaking on social media, I think Ashley Young probably got lucky with one of them. Again, some people are saying they should have had a couple. Some people are saying that the others are completely nonsense, but one of them he got lucky with. I don't know. I've not seen it. But Nottingham Forest trying to insinuate that the Premier League or the PGMOL have sided with Everton because it's a Luton fan, A, doesn't make any sense, and B, is completely laughable. And I'll tell you why. If they were a Luton fan and they wanted to have an impact on the game, they surely would have tried to make this game a draw, because that would be the best result for Luton if both Nottingham Forest and Everton were able to stay relatively close to each other. Secondly, and more importantly, Everton have had 8 points taken away from them this season. The Premier League asked for 17 points to be removed from Everton. No club in the history of English football has had 17 points removed within the same season for the same thing, for one breach. Couple of breaches, but one period of time. They wanted 17 points taken away from Everton. And these clowns think all of a sudden that the world's against them and they wanted Everton to win and this, that and the other. Absolute nonsense. And do you know what? You deserve it. You deserve it because your fans are scummy, horrible rats. And I don't care if that upsets anyone. And I don't care if there's Forest fans sat at home who are thinking, oh, I'm a dead nice person, I've not said anything. The fans that were inside Goodison Park today, or certainly the ones I heard, obviously I can't say it's all of them, but certainly the ones I heard, horrible, scummy rats. Let me just read this tweet from Paddy Boyland, who is a journalist of Everton and was at the game. Same old Scousers, always cheating, being sang from the away end as Beto gets urgent help from the medics. Really bad taste. Everybody in that stadium knew the second Beto hit the ground, it was something serious. You could tell by looking at him. You could tell by the way his body was flat out as well. He didn't move. And you could tell by the reaction of every other player that was around him. Dwight McNeil looked visibly upset. James Garner looked visibly... There was multiple Forest and Everton players who looked visibly upset with that situation, and they think that it's acceptable to chant that. These horrible, scummy rats think it's acceptable to chant about poverty and getting a job and all this and that and the other. Nonsense, and you deserve that today. I don't know, maybe you should have got a couple of penalties. Maybe you deserved a penalty or two. Maybe the referee got them wrong, but you fucking deserve that for being horrible, terrible human beings. You need to look yourselves in the mirror and sort yourselves out. Because what they did at Goodison Park today was horrifying. Absolutely horrifying. And people can say, it's banter, it's just banter. No, banter's not an excuse. Being at a football game isn't an excuse to say what you like and it be put off as banter. It's not an excuse whatsoever. It's vile. It's vile behaviour. It's absolutely vile behaviour, and they should be ashamed of themselves today. And the fact that the club hasn't even addressed it, but it's come out and addressed some nonsense story of the VAR was a Luton fan, blah, 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 blah. Sort your heads out and sort your fan base out, because that is fucking horrendous. Absolutely horrendous. They were singing Sign On whilst Beto was lying on the floor unconscious. Scum. Absolute scum. And you should be ashamed of yourselves. And I don't care if people go, it's a minority, it's a minority. It was a fucking very loud minority because I heard it myself. Absolutely ashamed of themselves. And that tiny club should be back where they belong in the Championship. And I cannot wait for the day that they are. Whether it's this season or not, I cannot wait for the day that they are. And another thing, why are they trying to all of a sudden fucking get involved with... Firstly, they were singing Sign On, Sign On, Sign On. Let me just get this up a second. Just bear with me 2 seconds, because I think this is a really, really important point to make here. On the 5th of March 2024, so a month ago, Nottingham City councillors have approved the cuts to jobs and services aimed at plugging a £53 million budget gap. The council declared itself effectively bankrupt in November, warning it would not be able to balance its books for the current financial year. Are these people fucking idiots? Do these people have any sort of brain whatsoever? Not only are you mocking poverty, not only are you mocking people who are struggling in an extremely difficult period of life at the moment in the world, in this country, you're doing it whilst your own council has declared bankruptcy and your own city is in the same position. If we were facing Dubai FC today, I'd think, do you know what, they're scum, but, you know, obviously Dubai, a very rich place, lots of money. Have you ever been to Nottingham? Fucking hell. Anyway, yeah, really, really, really disappointed with Forest and their fans today. I think they've shown themselves as sort of their true colours, and they're not very nice colours. And don't be trying to get us involved with your anti-Premier League chants, because when Everton were given a 10-point deduction, yous all laughed. Yous all stopped us from bringing anti-Premier League posters and banners into the ground. And you only want to now get involved because you've been caught out as well. No, not having it, mate. Not having it. Anyway, onto the game of football in itself. Yeah, I thought it was a good game. I thought it was a good performance, a good result, and ultimately exactly what we needed. Exactly what we needed. It wasn't perfect by any sense of the imagination, but it was better. It was much, much better than what we've seen in recent weeks and recent months. And that is a positive, and it gives us a little bit of optimism and a little bit of momentum going into a huge, huge game on Wednesday, and then another huge, huge game at the weekend as well against Brentford. And I think it's really, really important to have come away from today, not only with a positive result, but being able to say, do you know what? The boys had a go today. They played well. They had a go. They worked hard, and they deserved it. And I think that's the biggest thing we can take from it, is we deserve to win today. You could argue that we were very lucky against Burnley, and it was a case of two really poor teams, and one ultimately got lucky with a mistake. Today, you couldn't argue that Everton were much the better team. Maybe Forest could have had a couple of penalties, but like I've just said, you know, you're talking to a club. And about a club who have had 2 penalties all season, and we should have had 127 penalties post-February. So, you know, you're talking about a club who've had 8 points taken off them this season for the same thing. We've had 2 different charges for the same thing. It's not going to work. It's not going to work. Yeah, really, really good result. As I said, I think the players deserve a lot of credit. Very positive performance, and hopefully one that can give them lots of momentum now going forward. But there you go. We're going to leave it there. If you have enjoyed it, please hit the like button. It does only take a second. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe as well. That would mean a huge, huge amount to me. Yeah, big thank you all for watching, and we'll see you after.